Hello there, one and all, and welcome to episode 386 of Love at First Scent with me, Persolaise, live on YouTube as always. And this is an interview episode. It's going to be a little bit of a first because it's the first time we've got like a sort of triple split screen going on, because we've got one person joining us from Paris and two people joining us from the southeast of France, from near Annecy. And they're all people who've been on this channel before. So I'm just going to get straight into it and introduce them, and we can get going because we've got a very, very, very specific focus for this interview. So at the bottom of your screen, you can see the husband and wife team of Remi and Valerie Pulverail, who are the creative forces, the co-founders of the brand Les Indemodables, which is very, very much beloved by a lot of you, as I know. Remi is a very, very familiar face on this channel because he has kindly lent his time and his expertise to our masterclass series over the course of the last few months. By the way, the masterclass series is not over. We're just taking a little break from it, and hopefully we will be back in September. And at the top of your screen next to me, you can see Mr. Legendary Perfumer himself, Antoine Lie. And the reason why he is here is, number one, because he is the creator of all of the brand's recent scents, but he's also the creator of the most recent one, Patchouli Noisette. And that is very much the focus of this particular episode. So we're not going to have as much of a sort of broad chat as we normally would. We're very, very much going to concentrate on Patchouli Noisette and the fact that it has got a very, very interesting, innovative, original ingredient in it. But of course, if you would like to ask Antoine or Remi or Valerie questions that go off topic, feel free, and hopefully we will have some time to put questions to them as well. So first of all, I should say thank you very much to the three of you for taking the time to come along. Thank you, Antoine, joining us from Paris, and Remi and Valerie from near Annecy. I hope you're all well. We should start with sort of specific questions. You told me, Remi and Valerie, that the weather is really, really hot where you are. Is that right? How many degrees did you say?
35 Celsius.
And what is it in Paris, Antoine?
I think it's a little bit less, but it's around that. It's maybe a bit 32. So it's hot, but not that hot. But you see, at a certain level of temperature, 1 degree more is like feeling like a lot. So between 32 and 35, you can feel the difference.
That is true, actually. That is true. Okay, so in this kind of a situation, two of you are going to have to be very patient while the third one is speaking, so bear with me. But I would like to start with Valerie, please, if I may, because I understand that the original concept for this perfume, the original idea, the original brief came from you. So I think that's where we should start the story of Patchouli Noisette. So Valerie, why don't you start us off? How, what was the original spark, the idea for Patchouli Noisette?
The brief came from the patchouli. We wanted to work on some kind of woody notes. And of course, we talked with Remi, and he told me, yes, I have two kind of patchouli, and but we didn't want to work on a chypre perfume. We wanted to make something new, and the second raw material was the noisette, because the hazelnut and the Grand Cru, which is a Grand Cru and ultrasound extract. And the difficulty for Antoine was to mix and to have a perfume that was not too sugary, because we didn't want
sorry to interrupt, Valerie, but just to go back a few steps, did you from the very, very, very beginning have the idea in your head that you wanted to combine patchouli and hazelnut?
First, it was patchouli.
Okay.
And it was patchouli because we thought it was very interesting to work on patchouli without doing a sheet.
So you didn't have like a very, very kind of strong, obvious patchouli perfume in your catalog. So I guess that's one thing where you thought maybe you should have it. And you were also very, very clear about what you did not want. So like you just said, you did not want something which was a classic chypre. You did not want something which would go down the gourmand route of something like Mugler, Angel, etc., etc. So you eliminated all of these other
Yes.
things, right?
And we didn't want to have a hippie perfume too, because
Okay.
very, very often you smell patchouli and who has not qualitative notes. And after, Remi's just made the hazelnut. We imagine a perfume with hazelnut and patchouli.
So was there a kind of moment then when you said to Remi, I would like to do a patchouli, and he suddenly said, well, actually, I have just made a hazelnut. Is that how it happened?
No, because basically, you know, if you remember Vanilla Van, we are working with a very famous chocolate maker who gave us access to these incredible cocoa beans from different origins. So we used the Colombia grade in the Vanilla Van. And I've been visiting him a few weeks later, and he told me about the hazelnut that he was using to make the praline. And I told him, but so he asked me if we were using it in perfumery, and I told him no, because until now all the hazelnut accords in perfumery were synthetic. And I told him, can you give me some? So we make some trials. So at the time where we started with Antoine also to talk about this central patchouli perfume, we were working on the hazelnut ultrasound extraction. It was in the process, ongoing, and the perfume was really developed in parallel, Antoine, with the hazelnut ultrasound extract.
That's interesting. So Antoine, if I can bring you in then, did you have any kind of an influence on the creation of the raw material as well, or was that completely Remi's work?
No.
Well, you know, it's like a research and development kind of thing, you know. So it's basically, I'm just here to let them know what I wish would be better in terms of perception for this extract. So after they can do a variation of different parameters like pressure, temperature, timing, and everything. But basically, I cannot ask. You cannot ask to them to change the way the nature is delivering a thing. So basically, you just have to adapt, and maybe we can change some little things, but basically it was not really on this extract, and on this particular extract, my only the only small situation I had was the long lastingness. Some of them were like just a blast of hazelnuts right off the top, and after a certain time, I would say after 30-45 minutes, it was fading away. So my concerns were just to keep this kind of very addictive burst on the top, and then after that it will go much it would have a more long lastingness, so that was the only issue. So but they were able to do this, basically.
That's fascinating. Now I just, everybody saw, I just tipped it because you very, very kindly sent me some of it. So what I'm smelling now, which is really, really fascinating, I have to say, because before we started, I was saying how a lot of the time when you get hazelnut syrups or hazelnut flavored coffees or anything, I've always found something really, really not very convincing about them. But this really feels like the kind of dryness of hazelnuts, with that, with something which I immediately, you recognize as not being almond, not being walnut, not cashew nut, not pistachio. It's hazelnut.
It's hazelnut. Yeah.
So, but Remi, then, so what did you do to make it more long-lasting?
Alors, first, the hazelnut we've been selecting is the best in the world, which is coming from the region of Piedmont in Italy, and which is used by all the big pastry chefs to make the praline. So the first, you really need to have, because the big producer of hazelnut are Turkey, and also you have some California, but with a really cheaper grade and not the same taste and smell. And one of the parameters that we have been working on is the roasting as well, because you see the roasting, Antoine can explain, but will bring you some pyrazine, and you see these notes a bit burnt, but in the same time that will improve the long-lastingness and maybe this woody, a bit nutty facet, Antoine?
Yes. No, absolutely. I mean, basically, it was the key to actually to delivering this kind of extract, because when you smell it, it's like, and it's why it's very, we have to be careful, because everybody thinks that it's a praline fragrance. So it's probably something that would be similar to an angel, which is absolutely not, because there is no sweetness. And basically what was interesting in this extract is actually this kind of almost, I would say, not saltiness, but there is something like a roastiness and something that is making it very, I would say, almost sparkling, but in a way that is addictive, but not in a sugary way. So for me, it was really, and it's when you smell it, it's exactly that. When you smell some roasted, hazelnut, what you are doing in your kitchen, something without the sweetness, it's exactly this. And this is something that I've never smelled before, and it was so like it was a love at first sight, and I said we have to do something with that. This is something that is completely unique, and actually you've got the privilege to smell that. I can tell you that not a lot of people have smelled this extract, so
no, it is wonderful to smell it. Am I right in almost detecting something that is a little bit like iris, like the sort of powderiness of iris? There's something.
Yes, absolutely. But I mean, yeah, that's something I would have to resmell it to smell exactly what you are saying. But it's for me, I'm not. It can be something that you can perceive absolutely, because to me there is almost like a dustiness, something that is dusty and burnt. It's not the burnt, but it's like roasted really, and it's what is making you. I mean, it's like a mouth watering to me. I mean, it's really like, but not in a sweet way, which is completely surprising,
So Remi, sorry, this is maybe like a very, very simplistic question, but did roasting the hazelnuts more make the material more long-lasting, or did it not kind of go like that?
No, there are different impact on the olfactive profile when you are roasting more or less. Then there is also the temperature of extraction. Here we did really make the extraction at a very, very low temperature to avoid losing the top notes that Antoine is talking about, the sparkliness of the extract. So there are different parameters, but of course, roasting is quite important. And we've been there also in the Piedmont region to make a more precise selection. We've been visiting several producers to really choose the best lands where these nuts are growing in the hills, by the way, where there is not a too hot temperature in summertime, and yes, where the nuts are more tasty. So we did also a selection of the nuts. So all this, and this is a long process, because all this has been lasting for around 7 or 8 months with Antoine, and the back and forth, because Antoine is part of the team who is developing the ingredients. So we have the technical team with Jean-Philippe and the engineers at the lab, and Antoine is the making the olfactive evaluation and the trials in the formula to validate or not that we shift to the next extraction parameter. So it's a long process.
Valerie, can you remember the first time you smelt the noisette extract? What was your reaction? What did you think of it?
Oh, the first time, it was very surprising, because it was very similar from the original hazelnut. So yes, for me it was the same, and so it was very amazing. Yeah.
Would it be and anybody can answer this? Would it be possible to use this in cooking, or would it not be safe?
Yeah, it can be food grade. Yeah.
Like a sort of food oil, nut oil additive, or something like that, or
or a syrup, or
okay. So
because Dariusz is very much a food passionate, so he's easily jumping from a perfumery to.
we could try. So Antoine, so Remi and Valerie come to you and they say, oh, we have this idea for a patchouli perfume, is your first reaction to go, oh gosh, not another patchouli, or what? Or do you actually get excited? What's your response?
No, I was very excited because it's a challenge, because you know that patchouli is of course a very essential ingredient used in perfumery for years, decades, and even centuries. So basically, it was a challenge because, as Valerie was saying, we didn't want to make like either a chypre structure, which would be, you know, it was not the idea. It was really to work around the patchouli, not the patchouli in something that is a structure that is already used by many. And also, we didn't want to do something that would be like too hippies, like so. For example, like I'm taking always this reference because it's something that I'm familiar with. My dad was wearing Gentleman by Givenchy, which is also something, an overdose on patchouli. But this one smells really like, to me, like, of course, it's a beautiful fragrance, but it was very patchouli from top to bottom, with every aspects of the earthy, comfort-cious, dirty kind of, or also animalic part. And we wanted to do something different, like a modernization or a new proposition around the patchouli. So this is why, to me, it was very challenging, because basically, the idea was also to make him, some people that don't like patchouli would like this one as well, you know.
Okay.
So it was also this kind of challenge. And the fact that actually this extract was developed at the same time that the brief came in, basically we had this conversation like, why don't we combine those two? Because it was also a way to disguise or harmonize the top notes of this overdose of the patchouli we are using, because you've got almost like 40% of patchouli, which is really high. But when you do this and you remove the hazelnut extract on the top, which is also used in overdose, like almost 8%, then we will discover much more those very common and really known aspect of the patchouli, the comfort-cious part, the earthy part, the dusty part, and I would say the kind of old-fashioned aspect of the patchouli. What was really important to us, and especially to me, is what would bring the patchouli when it has a certain time of evaporation. That was this kind of beautiful, like the heart of the patchouli, not the top. So we had we needed to combine it with something that would be new and not like some other typical notes that were used already in the perfumery. And that's why this extract came perfectly at the right time,
right.
you know.
So I definitely want to spray it and smell it in a second. But Valerie, I just wanted to ask you as well. So you decided you did not want something like Angel. You did not want a chypre. But did you give Antoine some references of perfumes from the past, which maybe could be used as a kind of model? And maybe not even necessarily patchouli perfumes, but something. For example, did you say to Antoine, I like this, I like patchouli in this perfume, or something?
No, it was totally free, because we thought it was very important to let him choose what he wants to do, because we don't want to make a copy, or
right.
So it's
especially there are not so many very high dosage patchouli perfume on the market, so there are not so many references, especially if you remove the chypre. You see, Darius, you remove a large part of the patchouli segment, and
I mean, to me, I'm not the perfumer, but to me, that almost sounds more difficult than saying don't make it a gourmand.
Yes.
To say don't make it a gourmand and also don't make it a chypre is like, okay, so but and I want to talk about how you would describe the structure, how you would describe the form in a second. Antoine, up until this point, which perfume from your past was the one that had contained a really, really high dose of patchouli?
Well, it was Gentleman by Givenchy. That's the one.
From ones that you've made. From the ones that you've made.
Ah, sorry. Wow. I don't know. I'm.
Yeah, in 47, one with a lot of patchouli.
Yeah, no, but it's some of. I mean, I cannot. Frankly, I cannot tell you. I would.
No, that's fine. That's interesting. Because I'm guessing I don't know. Because for example, État libre d'orange rien contains a lot of everything.
Ah,
right?
yeah.
So
No, you're right. No, you're right. For example, rien, I think is around, I would say 15-17%. So it means that this one,
well, isn't it?
It's a lot. But I mean, but the structure and the construction of the fragrance is completely different. But you see here in this one, you've got 20% more of what is already in Rien, which is already very. I mean, you can feel the patchouli strength, of course. But no, I mean, otherwise, I mean, I'm sure I've done many fragrances with high amount of patchouli. I would say above 10. But this one is by far
I put you on the spot with that question. So I should very, very, very quickly say to everybody watching, in case you've just tuned in, that we're doing an interview today, basically about the creation of Patchouli Noisette from Les Indemodables, which launched just about a month ago. We can talk about where it's available in a second, but joining me to discuss it are the co-founders of Les Indemodables, Valerie and Remi Pulverail, and the creator, the perfumer, Antoine Lie. Remi or Valerie, you should tell us where we can find the scent. Now, I am able to put up on the screen your website in case people want to order a sample or anything like that. But where else is it available? I think you were telling me that it's going to be in Lucky Scent next week.
Yes, in the USA. It's also in different places. You have it in Parfum Unique in Munich, in Germany.
In Bologna.
You have it in Italy, in Bologna. Yes, in Virginia Perfumery. You have
in the UK, it's Saint Celier, isn't it? Yes.
Saint Celier, exactly. In Saint Celier in UK. You have it in Spain. You have it in Portugal.
You're everywhere.
No, not everywhere.
In Chile now.
In Chile, in Chile, we are starting in South America, in Santiago de Chile. Santiago Perfumes. We are saying hello to them because they are listening for sure.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, so lots of opportunities to try it. So I've just sprayed it. So let's turn back to the perfumer, and see, I must admit that when I first smelt it, I actually thought we were almost going to go down a kind of rose aromatics elixir type of route. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So is there something in here that's making me think that, or am I just nose blind, or what, Antoine?
Okay. When you said that when you smell this, it reminds you of...
Just at the beginning.
Okay. Alors, aromatic elixir, I'm surprised because to me there is a... No, which one is the other one you said? You said
I only
another
said
one.
that. By the way, feel free to tell me if I'm 100% wrong, but it's fine.
Well, no, I mean, it's funny because I tried to actually not be close to this one, because this one is typically the one that everybody has in mind in terms of, like a strong patchouli, even like small chypre, kind of structure.
But it is just at the beginning. It is just at the beginning, I should say. It's almost like that burst that makes me think, aha, we're a little bit retro, something,
okay. So maybe the patchouli is overtaking, kind of, I mean, it's even though it's hidden, I mean, this kind of, the camphragous or earthy part I was mentioning before is well disguised. I think that maybe you're getting some touch of it, and maybe it reminds you something of the aromatic elixir, but to me, it doesn't have, it doesn't have the same structure and even the same construction of the.
No, and they completely kind of go off. That is afterwards when I've worn it, because I've worn it a couple of times.
Maybe it's because there is a touch of rose essence that gives you this impression right on top, and with the blast of the hazelnut that gives, I mean, you're getting that to your nose, and combined with the patchouli, it's giving you this kind of feeling. I don't know. I mean, but it's you know what it's if I mean, I know it's not the same kind of structure, but if you get the same kind of reaction to aromatic elixir, I just wish that Patchouli Noisette will have the same kind of life than aromatic elixir.
Well, that would be wonderful, wouldn't it? So we've talked a lot about what the construction is not. Do you want to tell us a bit about what the construction is? So, for instance, how did you approach it?
Well, it's of course it's basically the I would say the mixture of two ingredients, the patchouli and the hazelnut. But I also and I explain you why I was using this kind of completely new ingredients of hazelnut. But it's also it's the same kind of the same process I use for vanilla van, which is to try to also emphasize or enhance some facets of the patchouli, which are to me very also noticeable, and that are not as familiar as the confectious part or the earthy part or the dusty part. So to me there are some elements that would be there is also a touch of the cocoa bean, from Trinidad, the extraction. There is to me also a lot of cyst, but not cyst as an absolute, but as an essence. So it plays more on top to give this also leathery aspect. That is also in the back. You've got also a touch of castoreum, kind of things like that. There are, of course, to me, there is a kind of cypriol kind of touch note. I mean, it's an ingredient that is also that smells a bit like a paper, and to me it's very important as well. It's a very important facet in the patchouli. So you see, I try to use some ingredients that would go on with the expression of the patchouli, trying to reveal those kind of facets, and also mixed with this kind of the hazelnut extract. So it's really we really try to make a combination that would be smells like nothing else on the market. So it's really, and as I said, it's something that also to try to please the patchouli lovers, but also would please the patchouli haters. So it's a way to try to please everybody, but pleasing it with a singular signature, which is challenging. But it's and that's what I because also the patchouli is usually something that could be, especially at this amount, something very rough and very intense. And here, to me, there is a kind of, it's a kind of a round, it's a kind of a ball to me also. It's thanks to the hazelnut extract. So, which is also surprising because sometimes the patchouli, when you don't add any ethyl maltol kind of stuff like angel structure, it's very wide and not vertical anymore. But here, even without any balsamic note, vanilla note, or gourmand note, it's a kind of a ball, and it's not too aggressive, in a vertical way. I'm trying to, I'm using some perfumer's terms, but it's just the way I see it. And
no, it makes total sense. And actually, it's really, really fascinating you saying this, because I don't even know if you're aware. I don't know if you're aware, Remi and Valerie, but I actually reviewed it and talked about it on a video, I think maybe 2 weeks ago, and I said that one of the things that was fascinating about it was that it was almost like a perfume that I didn't need to keep doing this to smell it. I was almost smelling it as like a haze of patchouli around me, but without the sort of hippie aspect, without the camphoraceous aspect, and I think that was almost what was more interesting about it, was the kind of the kind of 3D effect of it rather than the smell of it.
Exactly.
So it's really, really interesting you saying that.
No, but
Now,
it's a great expression, the 3D aspect to it.
It
It's
does
exactly
feel like
this.
that. It feels like something that radiates from you in a way, yeah.
Exactly. You know, I mean, I always compare the way I'm working as a sculptor and not a writer or a musician, because some people are, you know, saying this is the same kind of things because of the vocabulary and all that stuff. But to me, I would refer to the sculpture. So it's a moving shape. I mean, fragrances are like this. So it's vertical, wide. And this one, as you describe it, and it's funny because I did not watch your video before, or what you were saying on the fragrance before. But to me, it's a sphere. This fragrance is like a sphere. You know, it's like it projects like a sphere without you know, going vertical or wide. It's really a sphere, and this is exact. I mean, that's why we, with Valerie and Remi, we decided that this is okay, because at one point it was the shape in the air, or you know, was in the space was, I mean, not perfect, because nothing is perfect, but it was at this top. So
yeah, that's interesting. So Remi, Valerie, when Antoine gave you his first modification, when his first draft of the perfume, can you remember what that was like? Can you remember kind of which parts of it you immediately liked, but which parts you said, okay, we need to work on this and that? What was the process that you had to go through?
So it was a very long process.
Yeah.
Oh, was it? Okay. How long was it actually? That's a good question.
Yeah. The top notes was, I think, was difficult to shape because it was quite aggressive and a bit aldehyde. We had some aldehyde notes, and also it's a difficult ingredient, patchouli. And by the way, if you look at the brand and the 3 last launches, we have been working on shaping a central ingredient. From Ambre Suprême, it was Ambre Gris, and Vanilla Van was really around the vanilla facets, and now Patchouli, it's really also to develop and to emphasize, as Antoine is saying, some facets. But no, this one was...
So you're saying the difficulties were with the top notes?
Yeah, the top notes, and yeah, because patchouli is very aggressive, and sometimes
and the dosage of patchouli, because it takes a lot of place, and so it was difficult to smell the hazelnut.
Yeah,
right.
And not too masculine, not to make it too leathery, and to find, as Antoine was saying, the balance also, not to be in something too sweet. The long-lastingness, with patchouli, most of the time we don't have a lot of issue with the long-lastingness.
No.
Yeah, it's a very, very difficult ingredient. You see, when you start from vanilla or even Ambre Gris, Ambre Gris was also difficult because it's the opposite. Ambre Gris is probably a very delicate and fragile ingredient that you can kill with too strong ingredients, and the patchouli is the opposite. Probably it's a very brutal ingredient that you need to soften a bit with.
But I don't know if I heard you. How long did it take to develop the perfume until you were happy with it?
Almost a year, no?
Yes,
almost a year, I think. Yeah.
The launch was for the end of the year.
It was forecasted for the end of the year.
Yes, it was for November. It was not ready, so it was launched 1 month ago.
Yeah, no, if I may say, I mean, it was challenging. I was struggling with especially the right structure and the right balance between the hazelnut and the patchouli, and the level of patchouli against the level of hazelnut. And plus the other things that were added. I mean, it was kind of, and also because I didn't have a lot of experience on these ingredients, the extract, you know, the hazelnut extract. It was brand new, and even I remember that we started when the hazelnut extract was not completely, validated. So it means that at one point during the creation of the development of this fragrance, We switched from one hazelnut extract from another one because it was better. But if it's better, it was also, I had to rebalance everything also, because it's after, it's not because something is better than the previous one that you just added and that's it. No, it doesn't work like that. You have to reshape everything. So that's why it was very challenging. And it was like, really, it was a travail d'orfèvre, like, I don't know, you said that in, it was really, but it was so interesting. And I've learned so much on different ingredients.
It does sound it. It does sound it. And I started the video by saying that we're only going to do half an hour, whereas I'm actually now thinking, no, maybe I can just talk about one perfume for 3 hours. But we are very, very, very slowly but surely coming to the end of the broadcast, which is when I should sort of say that if anybody has any questions that you'd like to put to Antoine or Remi or Valerie, please do so. I also want to sort of say, okay, so we've said it's not a gourmand, it's not a chypre. Words like leather and wood have been used. When the fragrance goes to, Mr. Michael Edwards somewhere in Australia, what category would this perfume go into, do you think? What is its fragrance family going to be?
Well, I mean, I don't know if I told you that on one of your interview with you. It was with you or with another one. I hate the pyramids and all that stuff. Okay. The classification, the top, mid. This is something for people who don't know nothing about. Or they are experiencing the fragrance in a different way than I do. For me, this is just. It's not a pyramid. To me, it's a sphere of different ingredients that are playing back and forth, because it's not because you put like, I don't know, like sometimes they put like pepper in the top notes, but because it has a blast, but I'm sorry, it goes through the fragrance and it depends on the structure of the fragrance, but it might have a role also in the heart with the flower. So to me, to put like a kind of thing like that, but anyway, so this is just my feeling on this. And for the classification on the fragrance, like saying it's a floral, fruity, chypre, or I don't know. To me, this one would be like, I would say woody. It's a woody fragrance. It's a woody fragrance, basically. It's and after you can of course look at the formula and say, oh, this is spicy, this is this, but it's to me it's would be like an interaction between ingredients that suddenly you put like a spice with something that is leathery or woody, and suddenly the outcome is not like spicy woody, but something completely different, completely like unexpected and not that you cannot classify. This is me. So
but you are smelling so many perfumes yourself. Would you be able to classify it? How would you?
This feels like a question for the interviewer, Remi. You're not allowed to ask the interviewer questions. No, what I would say, and that I think I said in the video, so if I've said it already, I don't mind saying it again, is that it's interesting that in a way it feels quite abstract, and I think that's one thing that is separating independent perfumery a little bit from mainstream perfumery at the moment. Mainstream perfumes, generally speaking, seem to want to try to push products which are very, very instantly recognizable, which are very easy to read, whereas independent perfumery now seems to be more and more saying, actually, I'm not going to make it so easy for you to read this. Yes, maybe you're smelling something woody in the hazelnut, but maybe you're not. And there is a complexity here, and a complexity which actually I associated as well with Ombre Suprême. We haven't talked about the patchouli, actually. So maybe, Remi, would you like to tell us a little bit about one of the grades of patchouli that's used here?
Yeah. But basically, there are the two grades of patchouli. The one that is coming from Sri Lanka, from a very small production, and where Antoine found some very different facets than in the, let's say, the classical one that we have on the ingredient library, that is coming from the north part of Sumatra in Indonesia, and that is really still the right way in stainless steel. That is a very pure, and for me a very classic patchouli, the one from Indonesia, because that for me really smells that like what I smell in the field of patchouli, as I've been there so many times, and yeah, it's really close to the raw material. And the Sri Lanka grade is very different, Antoine, probably more leathery with different facets. So it was interesting to combine.
Yeah. I mean, actually, it's but you see, this is funny because you smelled it more leathery. To me, it's even pure. I mean, the one from Sri Lanka was even even purer. You know, it was almost like by comparison to the Indonesian one, which is already like a excellent patchouli to me. I mean, compared to some other grades, and this one was even more clear, or I don't like this term, but clean, you know, like even less dusty, even less, animalic, leathery, dirty. It was the purest quality of patchouli I've ever smelled. And so I thought it was interesting to combine those two, actually. Because the Indonesian one has more strength, I would say, but the other one has more lift and has a better, I think, perception on top notes, and it was playing really beautifully with the hazelnut on top.
Oh, interesting.
You see,
I've got one. Yeah, go on, Remi. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's really my role in terms of sourcing to bring these different origin and profile to Antoine and to the palette of ingredients. Then this is up to the perfumer to choose and select depending on the project. You see that the same for rose. We have now discovered the unique Damascena field of rose in France, and it's funny because the smell is totally different from Damascena from Morocco or Turkey or wherever. So this is really my role to bring for the key ingredient different terroir and different origin to surprise and to show all the facets that one key ingredient may have.
Interesting. We've got one question here from regular viewer Yura, who's basically saying, that as this noisette, the hazelnut ingredient is brand new. It's never been used in a perfume before, right? How do you do the safety testing on it? And are there, for example, any restrictions on how much you could use? I mean, what happens with things like that when it's a brand new material?
Yeah, but you do the same as for all the ingredients with the testing in terms of allergens, of composition, of restriction, CMR, and all the stuff. So there is nothing new in terms of process. This one has no specific limitation because we have been able to use it at 8%, which is a huge dosage in a fragrance formulation. So no, it's quite a safe one and an easy one in terms of regulation.
Well, that's quite lucky then. So Patchouli Noisette goes off into the world, and hopefully lots and lots of people will try it and enjoy it. But the person with the ideas, Valerie, I'm sure you're already thinking about the next perfume and the perfume after that. So give us some kind of give us a little bit of a suggestion of. Please don't say pistachio, or maybe I shouldn't say that. Maybe you are thinking pistachio.
But the problem is that we have a lot of ideas because we think we have a lot of things to do in floral notes, maybe, or in fresh notes, or there is plenty of things. We have not decided yet because Patchouli Noisette, yes, that's true.
No, Antoine, and also Antoine has some ideas in terms of ingredients he would like to play with. So that's also an important point.
So Valerie, you are not working on a perfume at the moment, is that true?
No, yes. We are working on new format of perfume, which is
concentrated version and highly concentrated version of the existing.
Okay.
Yes. So it's a surprise for September.
And probably Antoine will also like to use he is inspired by some ingredients he talked to us about, especially in the citrus notes. But maybe we have one or two ingredients that he could combine and include. Maybe if it's not as high dosage as hazelnut, but we are some ingredients we are working on that can be also interesting to add. So yes, I think it's a good mix at some point to. You see, this brand is a kind of R&D also and lab testing, not only for Antoine in terms of challenge for formulation, but also for us in terms of extraction technique, new materials. So you see, I think it's a good combination to try to explore some new territories, might it be in terms of ingredients or olfactive families or creation for Antoine. So that's probably a good...
So
and I think that I mean, if I can just add, it's also because this brand is it's not like we are growing we are not everywhere, but we are growing, and it's like we are. You can feel that we've got some success throughout this line, and it's a good surprise. We are really excited. So at one point, you have to also consider what is missing in the collection. And I think that after the last three, which are like Vanilla Van, Ambre Supreme, and this one, well, I would say in the structure of fragrance that are very like bold, And I think that, as Valerie was mentioning, I think that now it's time also to look into the flower area or the fresh area to really complement, I would say the collection, because after we have to think about that, because it's we are approached by a lot of people who wants to distribute this brand, so it's a great surprise, even though we don't have the power to work like a Diptyque or whatever brand. It's not what we want actually, but we have to think of also in terms of strategy and what would be the next one based also on what is missing on the collection. And we've got some ideas right now. We are talking about it.
Well, we certainly will be looking forward to hearing more about them, to see what the next sort of light, fresh floral is going to be. I can't thank you enough for your time. Thank you very much. And congratulations on the launch. And Remi, I know you and I will be in touch, and we'll try to get the masterclasses going again in September, because so many people have been asking me about those. But I just disappeared from my screen for a second there. I don't know if I disappeared from yours. Anyway, I'm back. Thank you very much to everybody for watching, and hope to see you again before too long. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Have a good summertime.
Thank you.
And you.
Bye-bye.
And you. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.